I had to look up the NAGAAA when I got home, the North American Gay Amateur Athletic Association. I started to sweat as soon as I picked up the phone. So this is an off season. I'd spent the summer per usual as a baseball umpire. Umpiring gave me skills. It turned a timid boy into a summertime beast. So, what did this umpire do after the last out of the season? I paid my tuition, bought books, and went back to school, working weekends as a bouncer at an 18 and over disco. After school on Monday and Tuesday, I played the accordion in a punk rock band. Our band, our band, Frog's Breath. It wasn't easy pogoing with a 25-pound squeeze box strapped to one's person. My signature look was a hand-tied bow tie that was ceremoniously ripped off mid-set and tossed to the crowd of punks, hippies, bikers, and other misfit Cal students. The crowd was there for $2 bills, for $2 beers, not for Frog's Breath. We were just loud. I was the only one who knew how to play my instrument. The drummer stripped mid-set. The guitarist and bass player made out with their instruments banging into each other, dry humping to the beat. When Asa and Landell started kissing, it was thrilling watching the crowd go wild, cheering in an outlier sea of acceptance. Last fall, I was at a wedding at a cousin's in Tucson, and I found myself sitting at the sinner's table. The 6 o'clock church wedding was a somber affair. The 8 o'clock full moon reception, not so much. Like always, I was seated in the back at what we call the sinner's table. The sinner's table has a couple of us queer cousins, the bride's one uncle who's been to jail a bunch, the one cousin who's always the sloppiest drinker, our very witchy aunt who finds the full moon auspicious, whatever that means. And then the one older relative on leave from the old folks' home with zero filter who shockingly spills all the tea. There's only beer and soda at this cheap-ass reception, so our cousin opens her purse and pulls out a tiny teacup and a plastic flask of old Granddad. The Granddad part of the label was scotch taped over with the word tea, scribbled in its place. Our old cousin passed around her old tea in her tiny cup. We all giggled, with pinkies extended, taking sips of tea like proper English ladies. We think this undesirable table near the bathroom, partially hidden behind an ugly pillar, farthest away from the picked-over buffet of build-your-own tacos and the picked-over scraps of wedding cake, is the best table. We get to watch the other guests queue for the toilet, giving us air kisses as they pass. The DJ starts with Shabuzi, a bar song. Our table of sinners en masse attack the dance floor. We can be counted on to get the party started. Right now I'm working on an anthology of poems that were written in the form of a spell. The book's going to be called Spellbound, and any poets here who want to send me poems that were in the form of a spell, please feel free. This one is one of mine that I'm going to submit to myself. This is called, thank you. This one's called Repeat 4 Times. It was just a feeling, a bad feeling. Someone's something was directing negative energy towards me. Just a feeling? I might know who, I might even know with what. 1. Aber Anderwachs au Wort. I'll start with the what. It started with a snake. This morning, a yellow bird. Each morning, I met with a dead thing on my porch. It's been going on for a week. You may want to know why. 2. Aber Anderwachs au Wort. Maybe I should confess why, but right now it's the who I want to hex. We'd been inseparable. He'd said he was a witch. A witch? I never dreamed he really was. Well, that was until 3. Aber andevox ovort, Damien. I had to coax this spell from a brujo. When I showed the wizard the dead things, he howled and crossed himself, asking what had I done. It was a misunderstanding. I never wanted it to end the things. I didn't really want things to end that way. 4. Damien, aber andevox ovort. I repeat the spell 4 times and say his name twice. I was tired of mysterious flat tires, burnt and spoiled food, so many inexplicable mishaps. I tried apologetic phone calls. Finally, hello? Damien answers. He did warn me. He's sorry for letting things get this far. He promises to stop. He'll give me another chance. This is a little bit about Mike being a 12-year-old hunter. 12. I remember the first time he let me shoot it, his double-barreled 12-gauge. He let me hold it, carry it, clean it before, but now loaded, trying to aim, I felt its heaviness. I was 12, shivering in the fall morning sunrise, excited on the first day of dove hunting season. I thought I was aiming at a dove, but accidentally shot a migrating Canada goose, flying so high you could barely see it. From that distance, my myopic vision, I would get glasses the next year, thought it was a dove. A gray speck, much closer to the ground, rather than the high-flying, migrating goose. It seemed like it took a week for it to fall. It grew larger and larger and less dove-like as it plunged. Lagging behind the flock, she'd slowed down. Downy fluff gone, her newly feathered gosling was struggling to keep up. She'd wanted to offer it encouragement. She felt the impact immediately. Losing control, her wing shattered. Her flight stalled. She felt the cold first, then gravity. As she started to fall, she called out a warning to her child to keep flying, catch up to the flock and safety. Another call to her mate, one of alarm and fear. At the time, I didn't know why another goose followed the falling goose. It was the gander, honking, circling its falling mate. Whooping and hollering, I barely noticed him as I dragged the heavy carcass by the neck back to our blind. Seeing us, the honking gander veered towards the rising sun. My dad pointed at him as he flew away. The significance, his pain, lost in my thrill. My dad was super impressed and called me Deadeye. He'd heard her call, only to watch, helpless. His mate was in free fall. What could he do? What's happened? He called over and over. The echo of his call followed her down, unanswered. He'd never know why or how. Circling her broken body, not wanting to leave her, he saw the boy kick her, then lift. She was a lifeless thing he dragged away. Not comprehending, no longer seeing, he gave a final mournful call and flew to their goslings, catching up to the flock. I wasn't always the boy he wanted. He loved me, but I wasn't a natural. Fishing was icky. Hunting was ew, bloody. I'd sometimes hear the word sissy, and yet I tried. I wanted him to be proud of me. He gave me a celebratory beer, my first. At the time, it was my proudest moment. The following week, basking in glory, I read about the migrating and mating habits of Canadian geese, fascinated by my kill. I looked it up in a remembered issue of National Geographic. I vaguely recalled. I was more into dinosaurs at the time. I wanted to be an expert on geese. I thought I'd wanted to shoot another one. Glory would be mine again. While reading, I began to sweat, then cry. I learned that Canadian geese mate for life. I'd murdered a goose, widowed a gander. My grandma cooked the goose, its presentation at the table like a trophy. One dead eye stared from my side of the platter. I hid my shame and just picked at the flesh while eating the cabbage, carrots, and later pie. After, alone with my still grinning dad, I wailed, "I will never shoot anything again." He tried to explain, then pleaded, then disgusted, stormed away. I was at a writing retreat last summer in Wales, and one of the writing prompts was to imagine you're here for you're in this little town in Wales, and you wanted to walk with somebody that, is a friend of yours that's not with you now. So I did this, I wrote it about as if I was going to walk with my recently deceased grandmother. It's called A Walk in Llanstefan, Wales. Ruby doesn't care where she is as long as she's with me. She does wonder why there's a no dog sign outside a church. Aren't dogs a part of God's creation, she wonders aloud. We spend time walking around the town. Ruby ignores the greetings of strangers, but always stops to chat with children. There are lots of indifferent children running around playing. Occasionally, one will stop their games and engage with an old woman. I'm always grateful, even though she mistakes the child for a younger me. We stop outside a red door that faces the church. She smiles and says, "Now that's a red door." I smile at her in agreement. "Ruby," I say, "are you hungry?" She is not hungry, but wants to walk down to the windy beach we can see from the porch of the red door's house. She grabs my arm to steady herself and whispers above the cacophony of the wind-driven leaves blowing from the hillside trees, "Who are you, kind stranger?" The adult version of myself is a mystery. She sees me in 1,000 prepubescent faces. We walk slowly as she nods to all who pass. Everyone nods back or stops briefly to chat. She asks all if they have seen me, even though I have never left her side. On the beach, she looks at the faces of children digging in the sand. She wants to sit and dig in the sand. But I'm afraid once down, she wouldn't be able to get up in time to escape the incoming tide. I lead her back up the trail, and we stop at the ancient gathering place. I let her sit on the bench with the three silent trio. She wants to know their names. She wants them to sing louder so she can hear. She imagines they are singing to her. So this is my last one. This is called Callipygian. I like to watch my nephew walk in crowded airport terminals, outdoor shopping malls, movie theater lobbies. He's unaware of the stares he gets as he passes by butch boys, garish girls, concupiscent couples. 17 and unconcerned with open admiration, open desire. He doesn't seem to see what I can't miss, and I miss it, those looks. Watching the watchers watch my nephew and not me, I remember being voted best ass of 1973 in my high school yearbook. I thought that ass, my ass, would last forever. Should I tell him I'm watching them and him? He likes being told he looks like me at his age. I wish he looked at me, looking at him. It's not my rock-hard caboose I miss. I'm not envious. I just wish I was desired. I wish I looked like me. Thank you all so much. Thank you.